So to release, for like your sister, to release kind of all this drama around this, you know, whatever it was, does the person have to relive
No.
the pain?
Oh gosh, no.
The pain
No.
behind the trauma?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say that's kind of an older paradigm model where you have to, no, you do not have to relive it at all. In fact, she just knew I was working on her and that's it because I told her I would, right? I mean, she didn't actually have to be aware that I was doing that. So for it to have had effect, it doesn't matter. I've worked on people who have, and I'm not saying that I'm guaranteeing any outcome. I am not a doctor. I'm just saying that I've worked on people who were not even conscious, and when they've chosen to come back into this world, that their bodies repair quickly. Right? So again, not a doctor, not guaranteeing any results, but the frequency work is actually really powerful, and it's not necessarily direct, you know? So in any case, to answer your question, no, you do not have to relive it. You probably will not even have any sensation of it whatsoever. Probably. I mean, I haven't tested over thousands, but what I would say is so far, no one seems to have physically had any or emotionally had any issue with it.
The reason I ask that question is, you know, there's most of us have had some kind of traumatic event, you know, whether it was a car accident or whatever that was. And the last thing we want to do
is relive that.
Oh my God, the pain, the suffering. I mean, you know, so if you go to someone, they say, I think I can help you. Well, a lot of people are just very hesitant because I don't want to go through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
it's not
you're
required.
saying that frequency memory can be released without all the
trauma. And so, for example, I'll just give you another story. So I worked on a woman who was a multiple rape victim. Okay. So multiple rapes in a certain period of her life because she was running certain frequency patterns. The moment I worked on her, I was like, okay, have you experienced sexual abuse? Have you been sexually traumatized before? And she said, yes, multiple times. I said, okay, that's pretty apparent. So we released a lot of the trauma in her body on frequency level. Okay, so it's running through, let me just make this really clear because I just realized that what I just said was confusing. The frequencies run through the body. For her, they were very concentrated because there were so many of them running through her body. So what we did was we released those distortion patterns that she was holding. And what happens is for her, now not everyone does this, but she was really sort of holding those distortion patterns in her body, meaning they were concentrating in a certain part of her body. Does that make sense? Not everyone does that, but this was the case for her, okay? So we released them, and that's what I meant by they were in her body. So she released them, what she was holding on to, and what was running through her. We released those, and what happened was, when I'm going to talk, sexual trauma is its own specific thing. Okay, we'll talk about abuse another time. It's a deeper topic that has its own specific frequency set. So we'll talk about that some other time. But sexual trauma obviously has a physical component to it. It's also mental and emotional. So it's not like I erased her memory of it. Let me just make that really clear. She still has the memory of it. But what happens is the charge goes away often. Okay, the charge. The need to go back and repeat those memories goes away, and what happens is that it changed her entire experience of the world, in the sense that because she'd experienced so much sexual trauma, she actually believed she was asexual. She actually thought, like, I don't have any sexual drive. I mean, of course she doesn't feel like she has any sexual drive. She's been raped multiple times, right? So of course she's like, well, I feel totally disconnected from the lower part of my body. It doesn't feel very good to me. I just won't associate with it whatsoever. It's just like not even there. So a reasonable response. So she thought she was asexual. She actually looked up, there's an asexual community. She got the pamphlet. She was about ready to join. And interestingly, even though she decided she was asexual, she had a boyfriend, okay? Because she wanted emotional intimacy, right? I mean, I think it was tough for him, but because, you know, obviously sex for them was very difficult. But once I released this from her, the trauma of the sexual abuse from her, she actually said to me, I don't know what you did, But my sex life has totally changed. I actually really enjoy sex for the first time in my life. She goes, I don't go back there to think about it. I'm not a victim anymore. I don't think about myself as having, being like subjugated by it anymore. I don't have that. I don't dwell on it. It's just not there for me. Now, I'm not saying her experience is going to be everyone's experience. I'm not. And I'm not trying to make it sound like it's just like instant on, but for her it was. And so it can transform relationships, because now she has a very different relationship with her partner. Very different, because now she can sexually engage with him in a way that's pleasurable for both of them, which changes the game for everybody, right? And for herself. And she's discovering this part of herself that she's locked down for over a decade. So that's a really big deal. So the repercussion of removing trauma out of the body can be huge. The ripple effect can be massive. So that's what I'm saying, like to treat trauma as if it's just like a physical healing. And I'm not saying that there isn't within our system, there's some emotional component, right? There are people who are addressing emotional components to trauma. Yes, absolutely. And without the frequency work, it becomes very difficult to overcome all of that. And that is why, in part, the physical trauma can repeat over and over.
That has to be, from your standpoint, has to be a tremendous experience to liberate someone like that. So that she could live a healthy life.
Yes, totally. And I would say, well, she did it with herself, right? And so we did it together. And so I just helped. And yes, it's amazing, because her freedom and her life now is totally different. So it's almost like she just changed lives, right? So she went from this kind of life, and now she's living another entirely different experience, which is really amazing that she could also, from her standpoint, release all of that out of herself, right? So she did the work of the confirm, delete, and all that sort of stuff, and was very willing and desirous of letting all that go. And she did an amazing job.